Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here today to talk about the opportunities for saving money when you're buying and using electricity. My name is Fergus Wheatley and I'm the Managing Director of Smart Power. I'll try and keep the talk short and focused on potential areas to bring savings back to your organisations. Oops, just killed it. Hold on. Okay, the topics for today. By way of introduction, about 2 years ago I was given some training on how to deliver presentations. So the golden rules were keep the presentation to 10 slides and no more than 3 separate ideas. So I'm going to break those rules. I'm going to talk about 4 topics and I'm going to have 13 slides. So firstly, the topics are contract types. So these are the different options you can choose when buying electricity for your business. Then I'm going to kind of run on to half-hour pricing, and I'm going to run on about how the makeup of how the half-hour prices are made up and how much they can vary half-hour by half-hour. And most importantly to this group is how you can adapt your energy usage to drop your average kilowatt-hour rate. Then I'm going to speak about the demand reduction scheme, which is kind of replacing the winter. I'm going to talk about the replacement of the winter peak demand reduction scheme, which is now replaced by a scheme known as a DSU, or demand response scheme. And probably most of you will be already aware of that. And finally, I'm going to touch upon energy credits, which can offer some really decent rebates against your capital projects. With each of these 4 topics, I'm going to try and give some guidance on the quantum of savings. So firstly, we're going to talk about contract types. Firstly, we have pass-through or floating price contracts. The user pays the power station gate price, all the network and capacity charges, as levied on the supplier. A straightforward administration fee is then added to the final contract, or to the final invoice. Secondly, we have standard time of day rates, and this is very similar to a domestic bill. A straightforward day, night, winter, summer, cent per kilowatt hour rate is charged for your electricity. And then thirdly, we have an index linked rate. This is basically a standard time of day rate linked to the forward gas price and the euro sterling exchange rate. By way of background, electricity is priced separately for each half hour in the Irish electricity market. The market operator schedules power stations primarily upon their bid price. The cheapest power stations and wind generators are allowed to run first, and as demand rises progressively, more expensive power stations are brought on. The market cost for all generation is the incremental cost of the most expensive power station that has been dispatched. Now, this is very important. The market cost for all generation is the incremental cost of the most expensive power station that has been dispatched. The crucial point is that in each half hour, all generators get paid the same price as the most expensive power station that has been dispatched. One of the effects of this is the electricity price can jump from 6 cents to 60 cents and back again from one half hour to the next. In saying that, the level of swing tends to be quite rare. Also, during windy days, the windy days suppress the most expensive power stations, so that does bring the price of electricity down, sometimes up to about 20 to 25% average. So it is very significant. Business users can sign up to contracts based on this price, and that's normally known as a pass-through or floating rate. The final price, again, I'm going to reiterate, is the power station gate price, the network and market costs that the suppliers have, and then they add on their own administration fee. The second noteworthy contract is called standard time of day pricing, or STOD. Several price levels, normally summer day, summer night, winter day, winter night, and weekend, and peak rates are used. Each supplier has their own methodology and definitions, and it's very difficult to compare like to like in a procurement round. From the end user's point of view, however, once the contract is signed, it's very simple, and it can give an advantage. In a rising market, because the STOD rate is locked in. So if the market is rising, that means you got a good rate for the next year. However, if the market is falling, you're locked in at the higher rate. Sorry, that's our. But just so to just reiterate, the blue here is what the power stations are paid for electricity. The red is kind of capacity payments. So they're paid to power stations and demand-side units for basically being on standby and basically having the power available should the grid need it. So for example, if money point dropped out of the grid, another power station will have to be pulled in. But the payments to have that on standby is made from the red here, which is significant. And the blue is your kind of energy cost. Your market operator costs, your transmission, distribution, market costs are all down here in green. Your black is your stod rate. So that goes up when it goes up, peak, day, night, winter, summer, etc. And that basically replaces the blue. So like you might think you're on a stod rate and you're paying a standard cent per kilowatt hour in each half hour. But in fact, you will always be exposed to the half hour variation within the red. So if you can avoid the high points of the red, there's incremental savings there. And naturally enough, if you can avoid the kind of peaks like this, and incidentally, these prices are from 2 days ago, you can actually say, right, you do your defrost cycles down here somewhere or down here. And that just kind of just leads into just drag your average kilowatt hour cost down. Now, and this is the index linked stod. So what happens here is that the forward price of gas and the sterling euro exchange rate is basically linked onto your stod rate. So your stod rate basically floats down and up each month based on, again, if your prices are going up or down. You can have the choice then of saying, right, we want to lock in January or February, in which case you have that insurance policy there, you know exactly what you're going to pay. Again, when you lock in, that all comes at a cost. The traders on the other side of the deal have to make their money. So generally you'll find, especially now in the falling market, that you're better off just kind of going floating. Okay, just Irish electricity prices are in the blue here. And the gas price, the UK gas price, is in the red. As you can see, now this goes all the way back to 2009. So you can see there's a good bit of correlation in between them. So these prices, they're both in sterling. So you can see that the gas price, or the electricity price, kind of bounces up and down in response to the gas price, and particularly around here. But then once the gas price falls below a certain level, electricity doesn't follow all the way down. So it kind of bottoms out about here, 3.5 pence per kilowatt hour. And we're getting towards that level now, where if gas falls much further, the electricity price won't follow it any further down. And in fact, the forward gas prices at the moment are dropping into their 30s. So already we're going to see that the red line is coming down here for this winter. So it's already kind of looking that we're going to see a divergence away from the gas price and the electricity price, which is particularly good for CHPs. This slide is very interesting. Well, I find it very interesting. In 2012, we have the line which is, I can't see the colours, I think there's a purple one here, which is going up and down, and it's kind of, and that's in 2013 as well. That's the kind of the old market. That's before the price of gas kind of fell out of bed. And we see here in March 2013, we had the kind of very, very cold snap, if you recall. And what happened then is the gas ran out in the UK. The gas storage ran out, and suddenly there was a lot of demand kind of chasing kind of limited supply. So the price of electricity absolutely rocketed up. Now the price of gas was up there as well. So we saw, anyway, we can basically see what happened there. And then last year in 2014, we say it starts off up and down. But then we start seeing kind of the 40 pence a therm gas kind of coming on stream, and the price starts dropping. And then we see the Ukraine crisis coming here. Russia came in, and then he got out again and came back in again. And then a few little wobbles in winter. And then since then, the price of oil fell out of bed. So we're now down to $50 a barrel of oil. That coupled with lots and lots of LNG, more solar, more wind, and we've got our 2015 line here, which is in red. So the forward gas prices and the forward curves, and these are kind of suppliers' predictions kind of going forward, is that the red line is going to continue this way. So we say that this year, prices are really, really good. And so we're going to see that. Now, I don't expect them to fall much, but I do expect them to kind of follow that kind of trajectory through the winter. Now, the kind of previous slides have really been concerned with the load-weighted average cost of electricity. I'm going to talk about the returns possible kind of by adapting to the high variability of the within-day pricing and the grid payment structures. Most of the people in this room would have access to processes that have a large amount of thermal inertia and movable load. You know, okay, you can decide when to do your defrost, and these should be of kind of fairly significant interest. So again, here we can reduce the load in the load spikes, and we can sign up for DSU payments. Now, these are not mutually exclusive. So in this particular day, we've got a big spike at 7 o'clock. So the price kind of hops up to nearly 30 cents a kilowatt hour. But most of the day is sitting around kind of 9 or 10. And if we move 1 megawatt off this half hour down to here or over to here, the savings are of the order of 35,000 euros per year. So it's really, really, really big. And now again, that just brings your average rate down. The second is the DSU payments. These are your demand-side payments. Basically, you've got aggregators who join up a number of customers together and say, all right, all my customers together have 10 megawatts. And if EirGrid is finding, okay, that their load profile, that they're getting a bit short of power, they phone them up and say, okay, lads, we need our 10 megawatts. And the operator or the aggregator basically sends phone calls or electronic signals to all his customers, and then they shut off. Now, by shutting off, they can either switch stuff off, can shut down production lines, or turn on the on-site diesel generator. So by doing that, if you have 1 megawatt available, 365 for the entire year, there's roughly about 45,000 euros in savings, or payments available to the end user. And you're probably going to get asked to do that twice a year. Now, you can be contracted up to 20 times a year, but from my experiences, probably twice a year is kind of the realistic amount of time to be asked. 35 plus 45, 80,000 euros. Not bad. So there's a big pot of money available for just giving your load a little bit of flexibility. And then finally, I want to talk to you about energy credits. So you guys are going to go off and install fancy control systems, do all this kind of fancy stuff. So there's 5 cents available for control upgrades leading to primary energy savings. Now that's 5 cents for electrical savings. So if you can come along and say, okay, we're going to save kind of 1 megawatt hour. You get 1 megawatt hour, which is it's 50 euros. So you get 50 euros for your 1 megawatt hour for the first year. So that kind of corresponds to controls for variable speed drives, LEDs, consultants. If you can say, right, we've done particular changes, this is what we paid out of, and it's quite straightforward to claim. So So basically, you put on generally you meter your process beforehand. So you leave it there. Now, the more meter data you have, the better. If you've got 1 month or 6 months, the 6 months is much better. You implement your change, and then you kind of monitor what happens afterwards. Again, normally around 6 months, and then you submit your claim, and you get paid back the amount you get paid. Now, that's worth, they can be worth up to, it's worth 5 cents per kilowatt hour, which for control upgrades can cover about 70% of the cost of the controls. For LED lights, 20% of your project is paid back. Other projects, again, it could be around 10%, but it's a real significant kind of easy win. It's just money there, and the idea is that it makes a difference between a project being viable and a project not being viable. As part of what we offer, we have a procurement group, so we currently buy about 50 million euros worth of kind of electricity and gas for our clients during the year, and we say, right, as part of our kind of extra service back to people, we throw on a bit of sub-metering. We have the software already written for the kind of smart power platform anyway, so it's very easy for us to kind of take that and just kind of put kind of meter data up onto the cloud. So it's not an enormous cost for us. And finally, the slides, the kind of updated kind of graphs. These graphs here, daily graphs, monthly graphs, these are all available in our newsletter. So I would like to encourage people, if you just put your email in there, hit the email sign up button, that's it, you're done. I don't look for your name, your company, your mother's date of birth or anything like that. So all nice and simple. And finally, nice and short after lunch, to recap. We spoke about how we're going to buy electricity. So we got 3 different contract types. You got your floating, which is basically a power station gate plus all your charges. Your standard time of day, which they basically take your power station gate price. They fix that bit, but the rest of it's floating. And then you got your index linked, which is your STOD rate, which is your standard time of day, which bounces up and down with the kind of forward price of gas and the euro sterling exchange rate. Then we spoke about the potential savings and load flexibility. They add up to about 80,000 euros per megawatt per year. So that's a really, really significant sum. And finally, we spoke about energy credits. So to do all of this here, when you're doing all of this, you're going to find some energy savings, because you're controlling things better. So then as part of that, you want to get some of your money back on your energy credits. And again, it's up to 5 cents per kilowatt hour saved. So that's it. Questions?
Just in regard to can you speak a little bit about, I know you touched on the contract types, but the dynamic pricing element, because that was the original kind of conversation we had around certain industries are more kind of
okay.
visible, like companies that do a lot of pumping.
Yeah, okay. That's
and things like that.
Okay, I'm going to take that. Okay, basically, your half-hour pricing is made up of a number of different charges. So we have the blue here is the energy cost that's paid to power stations. So if a power station makes a megawatt hour, they get paid the blue. That's it. Straightforward. They make a megawatt hour, that's what they get paid. Now that changes. The market operator, when he's actually dispatching his 3 gigawatts that he needs for this particular half hour, says, right, the first one, he wants to take on the cheaper power stations first. So the cheaper power stations work first, so they all go. That's grand. You got wind, which is pricing at 0. You got the combined cycle gas stations, they get in. And progressively, as you go higher and higher and higher, you find, okay, what's the last power station we need to meet all the demand? So that's, I don't know, Money Point. And Money Point is now charging 50 euros a megawatt hour, which is 5 cents a kilowatt hour, just as an example. So where are we now? Around this point here. So that's 50 euros a megawatt hour. So he's the price setter. So he sets the price. And then a couple of hours after this, we might need a more expensive power station. So we need Poolbeg. So Poolbeg wants 70 cents or 70 pence, 70 euros per megawatt hour, which is 7 cents a kilowatt hour. So he comes in, suddenly the price would jump up from 50 to 70. So then comes along. And then we have a day with wind, the prices stay low. A day without wind, the kind of prices can jump up. So he said, right, we might need to take, I don't know, Turtle Hill needs to come on for half an hour and they have an expensive price. So pull it in, or we might need to, God forbid, we need some diesel generator, in the depths of winter. So the price kind of goes up here somewhere. So the price does vary each half hour by each half hour. So the market operator actually publishes this here as an XML message. We take that XML message in, package it up into nice graphs, and then give it back out. Whoops, sorry. So that's how that works. The red here is your capacity charge. Again, that's a pot of money. It's about 600 million a year that's given to power stations for being there available. If you've got a power station now, you've got lots and lots of wind turbines all over the place. So that power station, instead of running 80% of the time, is now only running 25% of the time. And it's when it doesn't have enough it doesn't have enough kind of run hours to actually pay back the capital. So it has to kind of claw back its capital somewhere else. It still is needed. You can't just mothball it, because if the wind stops blowing, that power station is still needed. So the way the market operator works about that, it actually passes capacity payments back to the power station, which is then the capacity payments are worth very little in the winter or in the summer at night time, and then they work progressively more than in there. And around the evening peak time, they're worth quite a bit. So that's the pot of money there. The other prices are your transmission, distribution, taxes, operator costs, and they just kind of go up and down if it's daytime or nighttime. But as you can see, we got prices here. The final price here is kind of about 5 cents a kilowatt hour up to here, which is, I think it was about 30. So there's a real opportunity to actually say, okay, guys, can we actually shift our load away from these areas here, and then either here or in the evening afterwards, or the best time, of course, is in the middle of the night if you can possibly do that. You want to do your water pumping. Kind of 4 in the morning would be a good time to do it. So I hope that kind of covered.
How does the market operator notify the power station switch on? Is that kind of publicly available information?
No.
Is it a phone call between the lads or each other?
No, there's an interface called EDL, which is an electronic dispatch instruction something. So basically, in each minute to minute, there's a guy sitting in air grid, and he's looking at the voltage levels throughout the country, and he's saying, oh, look, we need to do that, and bring that guy on, and bring that guy off, and ramp that guy up. And so, okay, evening peak is coming on now, so we need to run Turlock Hill up to a little bit to kind of match the ramp rates of the various kind of power stations coming on and offload. So that's all done. That's done through a secure interface between EirGrid and each of the power stations. But the backup is there are phone calls that happen as well.
Well, it said then, so this information is all historic. So say you get
No.
price at 8:30 at 7. Is that right? Or
No. These prices are, you've got ex ante and ex post prices.
okay.
So you've got about 11:30 each day. The prices for the next 36 hours are published. So you got these are ex ante prices, and then actually what happens during the day is that these prices kind of adjust up or down a little bit. Sometimes the load shifts half an hour forward or back, but generally they're actually pretty spot on.
Okay, we look at that.
Fergus, can you say something about how you can save money by moving your load during the day?
Well, yeah, if you can move a megawatt from the most expensive period, half hour of each day, either forward or back a bit, it's the cost savings about €35,000 for each megawatt. So it is quite significant.
One other thing, Fergus, you might just touch on is the MIC, the maximum import capacity. Just I think what Peter's probably saying is that you can save money if you can reduce your MIC fully as well.
I haven't touched that. I haven't touched on that at all. Okay. On your MIC, your MIC level is your maximum import capacity. So that's what. So it says basically if your average load is 1 megawatt, that's what you pay for. You basically pay for the size of pipe coming into your organisation. So the size of wire coming into your organisation kind of covers the maximum likely load you're going to have. So if you can reduce the load and kind of shift your load around a little bit, so you don't have all your fridges kind of coming on defrost at the same time. You don't need to do, you don't need as fat a wire coming into your premises. So you say, right, we can reduce our maximum import capacity down a little bit. And that has two things. One, it reduces your import capacity, your payments back to networks. And secondly, there's a tax called Public Service Obligation, PSO, which is quite punitive. It's 257, I think, 276. It's quite a lot per kVA per month. So if you can reduce the size of your pipe coming in, that greatly helps. Again, that's also known as peak lopping. Now, I'm sure you guys might have heard about that. Well, especially people in the UK, it's very, very active there. So you can peak lop, but then you mightn't have the opportunity quite to move a load away from this, because you have to be able to say, right, you don't want to put all your you put all your defrost on here before the peak hits, because you suddenly you think you're saving yourself money here, but you're costing yourself money somewhere else. So there's a little bit of thing to be a little bit careful about that. Does that answer?
Yeah, no,
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, thanks,
All right,
Fergus.
all right, thank you.